and ask you all to join us in a moment of silence to begin the meeting. Please join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, if you could call the roll, and while you're doing so, if our interpreter could make his or her way up front.
Commissioner Kilgore?
Present.
Commissioner Knight?
Present.
Commissioner Belcheck?
Here.
Commissioner Purdue?
Good afternoon.
Commissioner Asasi?
Present.
Mayor LeGrand?
Yes. And we have an interpreter to interpret from English to Spanish and Spanish to English for those who need it. And if you can introduce yourself and say that in Spanish, that'd be great.
Push the button on the...
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Anabel. Estamos complacidos esta noche de proveer servicios de interpretación en español. Esto incluye interpretación durante la reunión y para aquellos que quieran proveer comentario público. Gracias.
Thank you. That brings us to our first opportunity for public comment, and this is specifically on items that are on the agenda. So anyone who wishes to speak to an agenda item, please come up. If you could reference the agenda item, that would be helpful, and give us your name and where you live. That'd be great, too.
Cool, for sure. How y'all doing, everybody? I'm D. Jones. I live in this, I don't know exactly where I live at. I live in the Orchards. But I'm speaking on petitions and communications, item 3. From Julie, from the GR Affordable Housing regarding the future housing in the region. So I agree with Julie. I believe we do need future housing in the region. I agree that we should have 3D printed houses in the region, especially the region is Kent County, not just the city of, the greater area of the city of GR. So 2 Sundays ago, I actually got to go to Detroit. I was able to go to the first 3D printed constructed house in the city of Detroit, and I got to knock on this lady's house. She was there, and she let me inside her house, so I got to visit the first 3D printed house. So as we do have 3D printed houses in the we don't have 3D printed houses in the region, I believe eventually we will have 3D printed houses in the region.
D, respectfully, someone just pointed out to me, this actually, you have to comment on things that are on the agenda for us to take action on, and those are simply petitions and communications. So
it's something that y'all have to follow up. If I'm looking specifically at the agenda, it says for a staff or for a follow-up. So this is something that y'all received from the community that I'm just saying that I agree with, and I'm speaking on that specific item that we need affordable housing in the region. I do agree with this lady, Julie, that from GR Affordable Housing, that we do need affordable housing in the region. It shouldn't be a policy thing. I believe it's a human right to have housing. And so I agree with this lady, Julie, that we should have affordable housing in the region, not just in the city of GR, but across Kent County. I believe we should have 3D printed housing across the region. Am I out of order from what I'm saying or with this agenda item? I am? All right, I'll save my comments for the 3 minutes, but I thought that I was in line.
No, Mr. Jones, we do have something on the agenda for housing. It's actually public hearing number 1 there. So if you take a look at that, maybe you want to.
But there's a public hearing moment to speak to that.
There is.
So, Mayor, just to be clear, because we could be here all night speaking on letters that were sent to us. So can the clerk clarify what the public should be commenting on?
So this part of the meeting is for public comments on agenda items from things that happen in our standing committees. So in sections on the consent agenda, Committee on Appointments, Fiscal Committee, Community Development Committee, or Committee of the Whole. Those are items. So that's for the commission to receive the input from the community on their consent items, because they made recommendations to the City Commission this morning. And so it's on any of those items that are on the agenda.
So y'all do have a public hearing for affordable housing on the agenda?
We have a brownfield item later on, yes.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
So you said the Committee on the Whole?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Greetings in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. My name is Daniel Scott. My true identity is I'm a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. So I'd like to address Committee of the Whole Resolution 2. Again, I see you're considering giving license to another perpetrator of alcohol. I am grateful that Flanagan's is closing. Long blight on the inner city. Again, I've warned you because I minister in the inner city in Hartside, where I see the curse of alcohol almost every day. And it leads to the breaking up of families. Scripture says it leads to poverty. I just want to voice my disapproval of that. Again, it leads to crime. I see it every day. It's like an entry drug into more hard substances. I speak from experience again. I once was a drunkard and a drug abuser, but the Lord delivered me through his Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. So I officially give my disapproval of this. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, I will move us along to approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve our minutes from April 14th?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to petitions and communications. Mr. Clerk.
All right, our first one is communication received from the Grand Rapids Community Relations Commission to request transparency, accountability, and timely public response regarding recent Grand Rapids Police Department officer-involved incidents.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Hannah Mico regarding her resignation from the Urban Forestry Committee.
Referred to committee on appointments.
Communication received from Julie Hulk, GR, for affordable housing regarding the need for future housing in the region.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Michael B. Scruggs regarding police conduct and statutory power.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Mark Baker, Soft Lights Foundation, regarding a proposed lighting ordinance.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Robert Stagg regarding the need for senior centers in Grand Rapids.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Nick Acarius expressing concerns regarding the proposal for continuation of special assessment roll number 8806.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Carlos Calderon regarding his resignation from the Urban Agricultural Committee.
Referred to committee on appointments.
Communication received from Carlos Calderon regarding his resignation from the Stormwater Oversight Commission.
Referred to committee on appointments.
Communication received from Scott Atchison regarding a downtown information center.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Scott Atchison proposing a name change of Kent County to Grand Kent County.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Scott Atchison with questions regarding downtown improvement district assessments.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Tamara Vandenberg regarding her resignation from the Grand Rapids Land Bank Authority.
Referred to committee on appointments.
13 communications received urging the city commission to support funding in the city budget for installations on Kalamazoo Avenue to improve safety.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Kelly Jo Peltier expressing support for the downtown improvement district.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Diara Newman, West Michigan Center of Arts and Technology, with concerns about the May 4 Dash route pilot.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Greg McNeely, the Windcrest Group, expressing opposition to the proposed downtown improvement special assessment.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Josh Brink expressing disappointment in what transpired at the April 2022-2026 special meeting.
Received and filed.
Communication received from the Hotel District Business Association Executive Board expressing support for the continuation of the Downtown Improvement District Special Assessment.
Received and filed.
And finally, communication received from Matthew Rothenberg, Hartside Business Association President, expressing support for the Downtown Ambassadors and the Downtown Improvement District.
Received and filed. Thank you. That brings us to report of city officers.
The first one is the Comptroller's Warrant Report for the period of March 31, 2026 through April 13, 2026, in the amount of $39,232,002.06.
Received and filed.
And the Treasurer's Report for the period of April 1, 2026 through April 14, 2026.
Received and filed. Which brings us to our consent agenda, and to remind the public, these are items that passed out of committee, the various committees unanimously. The agenda reflects those individual decisions, and were not removed from the consent agenda for further discussion by any commissioner. Can I have a vote to approve the consent agenda? Pardon, did I say a vote
moved.
and then a motion?
So moved.
Move supported.
Support. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. That brings us to our public hearings, and we have 3. So the first of these is a public hearing to consider Brownfield Plan Amendment for 1225 Plymouth Flats redevelopment project located at 1225 Plymouth. And I see Ms. Renero coming up to the microphone. Can I have a motion?
No motion.
Oh, we don't need a motion, sorry. Public hearing.
Hi, good evening. Excited to talk about Plymouth Flats redevelopment project. This is a site where we have a credit union that was vacated in 2024. And so there's a proposal to demo the existing credit union and put up 3 buildings housed with 48 residential units between 1 and 2 bedrooms. Total project costs are $10.5 million. Aspirational inclusion plan goals for micro, local, minority-owned, women-owned businesses totals about 30% of that overall construction cost number, so about $2.85 million. This is a brownfield housing TIF project, so it's the eligible activities are mostly for potential rent loss. 1.75 million in total eligible activity costs over that 12-year capture period, with $948,312 specific to the housing TIF capture. Construction is planned to start this summer, and I am happy to take any questions, but first I wanted to invite Matt O'Connor, who's the developer on this deal, as well as Jared Belko with Warner Norcross and Judd, up to talk a little bit about the project from their perspective.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. Sarah did a great job of introducing the project. This is an exciting project for Matt and his partners. You know, the credit union's vacated, empty building's been sitting there. This is a nice infill project to help chip away at the housing needs within the city. Working with Sarah and staff, you know, they were challenging us to try and sharpen the pencils as much as we can to get the AMI numbers as down as low as we can while still making the project make sense. So Matt and his team are proposing the designated units at 90% AMI. You have the information kind of laid out in your packet where that falls. But it's a 48-unit project, 24 ones, 24 twos. Matt has met with the neighborhood. He can speak to that here in a minute, but do appreciate your consideration for this project. Feel it will be a good addition to the neighborhood. And again, incremental gains on addressing the housing needs for the city. So I'll hand it over to Matt.
Hi, thank you for your time. Yeah, blighted building that was acquired last year, and reached out to the neighborhood, and we're real excited to bring some housing to this great neighborhood. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may all have.
Colleagues, any questions or comments? Commissioner Usasi.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for being here and for the presentation. I've heard this a couple times with Brownfield, and also attending a meeting that Ms. Renero and a number of other city leadership from Mobile GR and planning came together to talk to the neighborhood. I would say, you know, this is in the Nika neighborhood, so just right on the other side of Creston. And, you know, there's been a lot of desire of what else can, you know, be there, what other amenities can kind of come forward. And projects like this is, I think, what sort of draws people in. We've seen that in the Creston neighborhood. And I think with most things, there's change and kind of wondering what is it going to be like, because, you know, you've got Kids Food Basket right over there. But I really appreciate the developer Matt's efforts to engage and to talk through and to be a good neighbor during this process. So I just wanted to add those pieces, and I know we'll continue to keep talking through this process. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Any other comments, colleagues? Otherwise, thanks for doing this work. And you're right, incrementalism. We're increasing our housing supply, and this is part of that work. So thank you. Thanks. So now anybody in the public who wants to comment on the project can feel free to come up and discuss it.
back again. It's D. Jones. This ain't in a community around the city or part of that I live in, but I do like that we're increasing the housing supply and that this is an infrastructure improvement project. But I didn't hear the cost of what the units are going to be, and I'd like to know what the cost of what these units are going to be. We do have an affordable housing crisis, and even though I like affordable housing, I'm going to continuously challenge people publicly. I'm not saying that y'all didn't say the cost, but I like to know what these units cost because people like to know what a per unit costs. And so just for transparency, can we learn what the housing units cost? Also, there are people that are 3D printing apartments. I know this is already going to be a project that's starting in the summer, but it'll be nice in the future to have people and developers, as the city did adopt 3D printing construction until 2031, that we actually get some 3D printed apartments in the future. So I do like the project. I'm not saying anything negative. I believe that we do need affordable housing, but I like to know the cost. I'm sure that the public, everybody doesn't know what AMI stands for. So just to simplify government, I'd like to know if we just had a standard cost of what the units would be. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, I'm referring this hearing is now closed, and we'll refer this to committee of the whole. Ms. Renero, we have another public hearing, and this is on the necessity of a 3-year special assessment for enhanced services in the Downtown Improvement District.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Washington. Let's see if I can figure out this technology. Hey, there we go. Melvin Ellers, the Director of Operations at Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc., here to talk briefly about the Downtown Improvement District. So I'm going to quickly cover what is the DID, how does the DID work, what does the DID do, briefly talk about stakeholder feedback, provide an operations overview of our operations plan, as well as a brief overview of the reauthorization process. So what is the Downtown Improvement District? It's an important place management tool that our organization uses to keep downtown clean, beautiful, and welcoming all year long. It was established in 2000 to provide an enhanced level of service beyond what the city traditionally provides and legally cannot replace city or government services. And it's funded proportionally by office buildings, retail shops, restaurants, downtown residents, and other downtown property owners. And here's a map of the current DID service area. So the large yellow area is where we provide general services, things like cleaning, flower planting, trash removal, things like that. And then the blue area is the snowmelt district where we operate seasonal snowmelt. And then here's a quick overview of who the board members are that sit around the table at the DID. And so how does the DID work? So essentially, property owners in an area request services, in our case, sidewalk cleaning, landscaping, etc. The improvement district develops a plan and delivers those services. Property owners cover the costs of those services, and all the properties benefit. And then here's a quick in the weeds of how we break down the assessments per property. So 30% belongs to total land area, 30% for building square footage, 30% for parcel frontage, and then 10% for parking area. If you're a residential property owner within the DID, you pay a $120 annual flat rate. And then if you're a nonprofit organization, you receive a 40% reduction in your assessment. And assessments are billed annually, generally in September. So what does the DID do? So the work that the improvement district does falls into these 4 buckets. Beautification and maintenance, like I've mentioned, sidewalk sweeping, clearing snow, removing graffiti, trash, etc. Business support, things like marketing and promoting downtown. Safety, reporting low-level crime to GRPD, reporting street repair issues and hazards. And then community, so assisting people moving in and around downtown, helping visitors with information, connecting people to the homeless outreach team or social services. And then briefly want to touch about on our stakeholder feedback. So we conduct an annual survey to all of the stakeholders who are paying for the improvement district. Last year we had 110 respondents, and you can see the breakdown of who they are and who they represent, how often they're in downtown, as well as get a taste of the stakeholder survey itself. Not going to go through all the results because there's quite a bit, but I do want to highlight this one sort of question, basically breaking down all of our services into 8 buckets. How would the stakeholders who are paying for our services rate? How the DID is performing at them, drawing your attention to the dark blue and orange columns respectively, representing very good and good. Over 70% of our stakeholders would rate our services in those 2 categories across almost every category here. going to talk about the 2027 through 2029 operations plan now, which is why we're here for the public hearing. So really quick proposed changes. So increasing the area-wide assessment by 3% in fiscal year 2027, which would give us an operating budget of $1.5 million, which includes snowmelt funds. Recommending a 4% fiscal year increase, assessment increase in fiscal year 28 and 29, which is the highest increase that the DID plan allows us to increase rates. Should also mention the DID plan requires that we tie those increases directly to state inflation rates. And so we actually set the percentage based on those 4%. As you are probably aware, is the ceiling. And so we typically set to the ceiling and tend to walk the budget back to a more level that's more in line with the services that we're providing every year. We're proposing to expand the DID service boundaries to include the newly constructed amphitheater, which is the area in red on the map. I also would like to add, it's not on here, but we had an 11th hour request from a property owner on the west side to draw their business into the improvement district. So we are working to amend the plan, including the district that you see here, as well as the budget to include them. And then additionally, we are recommending that the snowmelt assessment, which is paid for by properties that border only the snowmelt, remain flat for all 3 years. And then the process for getting the special assessment approved. So the board and DGRI staff develop the operating plan. It goes to the Downtown Improvement District Board for recommendation to this body. This body reviews the plan, sets the public hearing. Here we are. Commission will vote on approving the plan. The plan will go back to the Improvement District Board for adoption. We will begin implementing the plan on July 1st, 2026 this year for 3 years. And while the DID operating plan is routinely reaffirmed, typically on a 3-year cycle, we must come back to this body every year to get our budget approved. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Colleagues? Commissioner Sassi.
Thanks so much for the presentation, and I appreciate it. I think I counted 3 times where it says, this is beyond city services. So I think, just looking at some of the messages that I've received and some of the comments, just a reminder, everybody, this is not replacing city services. I think even just hearing that there's this business on the west side that's asking to be, drawn in is another show of the investment and sort of the return on investment. So I just wanted to say I appreciated that, and I'll turn it over to whoever else wants to talk about this. Thanks.
Commissioner Knight?
Thank you again for bringing this. I just wanted to re-highlight some of the conversation that we had when you brought this the first time about particularly the when we talk about the safety downtown and cleanliness and trash and all of those things, but how are we partnering with the community around the safe protection of residents' personal belongings downtown. I know as we're looking at the city budget, there was some money that was put in there in the budget to help cover some of those costs, but it doesn't cover the whole cost. And just wondering if that conversation happened about what the DID could possibly help support in that work so that we can continue to provide that dignity for our unhoused neighbors.
I'm not sure that those conversations have happened yet, but again, we're open to having those conversations and welcome to looking at how we can support those excellent services that you're describing.
Commissioner Kilgore.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. Can you remind me of when you were here last?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And so your executive team, when's their usual schedule? I think this is really pressing and concerning, so I'm just a little disappointed to hear that you all haven't been able to take up this formal request. Sure. So when is their usual meeting schedule, and when can we expect this conversation?
That's a great question. I don't know the executive meeting schedule. I'm not privy to that information. I'm not executive, so I don't know when they meet. I believe it's monthly, but I'm not sure if they've met yet this month.
Okay. I'm hopeful that we going forward, of course, we always have to give grace. I hear you where you're coming from, but if you could communicate to the executive team, this is a true need that we are hearing within community. And as we continue to want to serve our neighbors and give dignity, this is something that we're really hoping that you all can support as we've seen previously. But thank you again for your presentation and these updates. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Belcheck.
So I just want to support what my other colleagues have said here so that you hear it loud and clear. I'm sure you do. But it is really important that we address these things, especially since we had a presentation today at Communities Public Safety about the Housing Pathways Program and how much of a need that is to continue to support those folks. I'm also kind of curious what your thoughts are I'm looking for the more robust plan online and just wondered if you could fill in some details specifically on maybe how your ambassadors are going to be moving around in particular areas with the venues coming online, but also because there are some people in the neighborhoods along Hartside and other places that are just wondering. There are perceptions that sometimes some parts of the community, the did get more attention than others. And then my last question is if you're at liberty to tell us what the map would be for the first ward addition, I would be interested in knowing.
Sure. I could start with the map. That would be the easiest. Let me back up here really quick. So it's going to be a tiny addition, almost imperceptible. So if you look at the rectangle that's carved out on the west side there will be a tiny addition, one parcel added onto the southern part of that rectangle. So very small addition to the west side.
I'm sorry, the one in the northwest corner, we couldn't see the pointer.
I don't have the pointer going here.
Okay, so the furthest northwest corner up by 2nd Street is the one you're pointing to?
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
so. Yeah.
Alrighty, somewhere in there, in that corner of the world. Okay, thank you. Continue.
This right here.
Yes, so the southern part of that.
I had that conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Joel.
Question around how the ambassadors will be moving in and around new venues opening up in downtown.
New venues and then also maybe strategy around the distribution of those kinds of services.
Sure. So typically when there are big special events, we deploy a special deployment through downtown to cover those events. So we'll bring on extra ambassadors, greenlight additional hours just to move ambassadors through the district, engage with folks. Those extra and or special deployments, however you want to call them, don't typically interfere with our day-to-day operations, so they're above and beyond what our typical ambassador cleaning and deployment routes would be. As far as equitable distribution to services throughout the district, so we have the district broken up into 4 or 5 sort of sub-districts. We clean every one of those districts every single day. A lot of times we hear, like, I never see an ambassador. We understand that, but ultimately our ambassadors are moving through the entire district on a daily basis.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions from my colleagues, I'll ask if there's any member of the public who wishes to be heard.
My name is Scott Atchison, 3rd Ward resident. I would like you to bring him back up here after I'm done speaking so you can ask him some questions. But first of all, I want to say thank you to those of you up there and those of you back here who've told me that downtown needs an information center and a daily information system, which we don't have. And I heard nothing about information. I just want to go back something. When they first started these ambassadors, which are actually employed by a company out of Lexington, Kentucky, like an employment service, they make $15 an hour, the ambassadors, but they're billed out over $21 an hour. You guys need to go back and read that contract. Now, I'm not here to trash the ambassador program, but what I am here to tell you is that people from the DDA, board members and staff, DID, Downtown Improvement District, said we don't need an information center. We've got wandering ambassadors. And I'm like, is this a joke? We don't have an embassy for the ambassadors. You know, that's kind of silly. But I'm still saying I find it hard to see the difference between the Downtown Improvement District, Downtown Development Authority, and Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. They're all the same to me. They're all in the same building, 29 Pearl Street, same suite, same address, same phone number, same email. It's all the same. And part of their They should be the ones building the information center at Pearl and Monroe behind where the ice skate for the Convention and Visitors Bureau to run. I'm saying, and then the employees from the Convention and Visitor Bureau, which there's 35, and there's at least 20 in the Downtown Improvement District office. Those employees are the ones that should run the information center. Now, if I ran the DID, Downtown Improvement District, DDA, Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc., I would make sure every one of the employees in that building are going to work the information center nights, weekends, and holidays. And if they didn't like it, I'd say, here's a small severance check, goodbye. You know, some of them, I can't believe we didn't get an executive from the Downtown Improvement District here. He admitted he's not an executive, but he's a good guy, Melvin. I've met with him, he's a good guy. But I'm just saying, you should ask him, does the Downtown Improvement District, DDA, do they think an information center is needed? If not, they should get new leadership. But I'm saying it's for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. You know, if they don't want to run an information center every day of the year, I'll go to the county and say, you need to get a new contract with your Convention and Visitors Bureau. Just for the record, I still got to call it Convention and Visitors Bureau and not Experience Grand Rapids. Seems like everything's having two names or something. The Downtown Development Authority is Downtown Grand Rapids Inc. The Convention and Visitors Bureau is Experience Grand Rapids R. But the only thing I can tell you is we don't have an information center. And look at the soccer ball and the guitar. We got 2 new venues coming and no information center.
How y'all doing? I'm D. Jones. As far as the Downtown Improvement District, I think we need to enhance our affordable housing services. We have very rich billionaires. We have people that have businesses downtown, and I think they need to pour into affordable housing. Honestly, somebody has to say this. Y'all complain about different things and, you know, different plans that the city is trying to put forward and everything else, and I think we need to hold our local businesses that are downtown accountable. You guys get a lot of revenue. You guys get a lot of opportunity. You guys get to drive nice houses. I mean, you guys get to drive nice cars. You guys get to live in nice houses, but y'all sit there and y'all gate the bridge under there where people usually be sleeping at. And I don't like that. I understand that's unsafe, but understand we got venues and everything else, but I'm going to continuously advocate for affordable housing. I believe that our services, and we need to have an assessment plan on the affordable housing downtown, and how can we increase affordable housing so we don't have an unhoused population? How can we increase affordable housing? How can we increase health care? Those people probably don't have health care, and it's probably a health hazard, a safety hazard to y'all, but we have a housing issue, and that's a policy issue. It's a human issue because people are selfish. I'm not saying that these people are selfish, but we have soccer teams. We got billionaires buying all type of stuff all across the city or different states donating to different campaigns, but we got people in our local community struggling every single day. Every single day, people are struggling every single day. People don't know how they're going to eat. People, electric, lights, gas, internet bills super high because these big businesses are in the pockets and buying these local politicians, and not you guys, but county politicians and politicians across the United States, and that needs to stop. But everything starts locally and it starts downtown. So I'm going to keep coming here and advocating for better change, holding billionaires accountable, because one day I'm going to 3D print houses. One day I'm going to increase affordable housing. One day I'm truly going to help people get out of poverty, out of the struggle, because I come from poverty. I come from Social Security checks. I know how it is to struggle, and I hate when I'm sitting there and people don't got an ID, or I'm doing my job and stuff like that, and I'm asking people for their signature or something like that, and they don't got an ID, or they say that their address is the shelter. That's crazy. But we got billionaires buying all kind of stuff and donating to people so they can keep pushing their agenda, and I'm going to speak out about it because I don't like their agenda. I don't like certain items on their agenda. I like truly affordable housing on the agenda, and I'm going to keep standing on business and holding people accountable. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm not going to talk about housing. I'm very happy with what's going on downtown. I think it's a great thing. I know that, You need to compact your cars if you want to get downtown. And my question to you is, even though I know you're not going to answer it, is anybody watching that one-armed bandit called Ellis Parking? Are any of you paying any attention to the fact that the rates continue to go up, they continue to build more parking lots, and they're not maintaining them? I'm just asking. And I'm sure that everybody in this room might be curious to know why the rates keep going up. And is there any oversight? Anybody paying any attention? Because we are. I love downtown, but I don't like coming down here because I don't want to pay $25 to park in a parking lot. It just doesn't make any sense. If you can do something about it, I sure hope that you will. Thank you very much. That's all I got to say about that.
Trust me, what I'm about to say shocks me as much as it does you, but I think I agree with the WinQuest guy in the letter. Yeah, okay, another story. I bring experience in this area because I'm from a place that did better with it. So why not start spreading assessments out? I don't think the downtown folks are invalid in complaining that they're getting taxed all the time for contributing to something that ultimately contributes to our overall tax base and economy. It would be nice if there was an assessment citywide that everybody could share, and then each district could get a pie slice from that. So better district in your neighborhood brings better things to your neighborhood. And I've come up here a couple years ago before and told you what you don't want is a perception of a war between downtown and the rest of your city. It creates resentment in different neighborhoods. And I think you're hearing a little of that vibe right now because special tax assessments aren't universal. You have to do all sorts of special crap, and I think we only have two places that get it. If I'm not mistaken, it's downtown and uptown. But how cool would it be if we could all, I know, socialize the expense across all of us to contribute to these districts that do great things in their respective areas, and including downtown in that, but not having people that I otherwise couldn't possibly agree with on any other political topic being right about the idea that maybe they shouldn't be the only one paying it. Because we're all going to benefit. We're all going to benefit from the huge explosion of destination traffic and business. It doesn't have to just be in one area. And if you don't want to benefit from it, good luck with auto parts and plaster. Right? So think about that. Maybe change that whole system. They might have a point. You can't do it right now.
Hello, friends. Mark from Grand Rapids. On this downtown development district assessment, I agree with Matt Scott on this information center, and he said I see a soccer ball there. Y'all missed a golden opportunity to increase that soccer stadium to 25,000 seats. Because I heard on Brody Brazil that Vancouver Whitecaps from Major League Soccer could be up for sale and relocate. They're talking about Vegas and Phoenix and everything, Louisville. I know Grand Rapids would have been a long shot, but you would build a stadium of that size. You could have made a relocation offer. In turn, you would have had entertainment districts. It would have been revenue to the city, where you might generate some affordable housing offers. That's what I always say. Build big, make more money. now, and since private business, since everything is revenue is going to be private, and there's no taxpayer dollars, you had a good thing going. But you messed up, and now it's too late. So you better think about this. Because if the next big thing might come, don't make that same mistake again. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, I will close this hearing and refer it to the Committee of the Whole. And that brings us to our final public hearing, which is on appeals on Special Assessment Nuisance Roll 8802. And I assume we have someone from the Assessor's Office coming up. Ms. Post.
Hi, Lindsay Post with the City Assessor's Office. I'm here on behalf of the Special Assessment Nuisance Roll 8802. So on January 27th of this year, the City Commission issued an order for the assessor to create the Special Assessment Roll for unpaid charges for services or code violations. These were from July of 2025 through December of 2025. The charges stem from miscellaneous services such as housing violations, yard violations, rental certifications, and blight monitoring. Property owners affected by these charges were sent notices on March 16th. They included the amount of the charges as well as information on how to appeal. The special assessment roll has been open for public inspection for at least 2 weeks. It started on March 30th through today. The roll was available online and in our office. In addition, to date, the assessor's office has received 15 written appeals. Tonight, the commission convenes as the board of review to hear appeals of these assessments, and tonight is the final opportunity for appeals. I will be available after this, just across the hall, for anybody who would like to appeal.
Thank you. And seeing no one from the public who wishes to come forward on that item, I will close that hearing, which brings us to our second opportunity for public comment, in which anyone can come up and comment on any item they wish to address the commission on. And again, name and part of the city you live in, ideally. And there's a clock for up front here, which is visible to you, so keep it under 3 minutes. But Mr. Jones, you know that.
For sure. So, everybody, I'm D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary. And I just got a dream where we can live in a society where there's no genocide, and there's no bombings, and there's no killings. And our APAC isn't just buying both sides of the aisle, politicians. And we have real progressive politics and people that actually care about the citizens. That's something I dream of. It's something I canvas for. Something I collect signatures for. Because everything starts local, but I hear stories. I hear a lot of stories how people got $1,000 light bills and stuff like that, or how they got evicted from their house because they could pay their rent, but they couldn't pay their utilities. It's sad. But as I was saying, though, I was in Detroit 2 Sundays ago, and I was chilling with my friend, one of my best friends. And so we kicked it, and then we hooped at LA Fitness, and I gave people buckets out there. Then we lifted, and then he ended up driving me to the first 3D printed house, 1444 Sheridan Street. They say that's Big Meech Hood, if you know who Big Meech is. And so I ended up going to this 3D printed house, and I checked it out, and I looked at it, and I seen a bunch of groceries. So I'm like, this lady gotta be at the crib. Like, ain't nobody finna leave food like that out there in Detroit. So then I ended up seeing her through her house, and then I knocked on her house, and I said, hey, I'm D. Jones, and I'm a passionate entrepreneur. I'm a visionary, and I've been advocating for 3D printed construction for a long time, and I got my city government to adopt it from continuous passionate advocacy. And so she said, would you like to come inside the house, and you can check it out? So I got to see the 3D printed house, I got to see the wall, and I got to see the rooms and everything else, and it felt like a home. It was just 3D printed. And then she let me go through her attic and check out everything else, and I seen the heater and everything else. And I'm just like, one day I actually am going to put this out to the universe, and I am going to 3D print houses. And then this is the thing. So After that, after I seen the 3D printed house, I was at the Democratic State Convention. So I seen all of the politicians, I seen Alicia and everybody else, but I was actually in the 3D printed house before I was at the Democratic State Convention. And I was speaking to people about 3D printed houses and just having a vision for better politics. I couldn't speak to every politician, but as you guys seen the Democratic Convention, people are starting to get conscious. And they're starting to sick of their politicians being bought by Israel and AIPAC, and the consciousness of the human beings are starting to we're starting to uplift each other. And we're going to hold politicians accountable, because the Rothschilds and Rockefeller banking system doesn't work for every citizen. But I believe this is going to change, and you have to be the change you like to see. So I know this is I know this is a broader thing, but I believe these issues start locally, and I actually collect signatures to stop big businesses from buying off our politicians. But I'm also going to 3D print houses, and I'm going to change our economy one day. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Deb Van Dynen from Oakdale Park Church and a member of Together West Michigan.
Good evening. I'm Kenya Hunter, and hi to y'all. I hope y'all can see me because I'm probably the shortest one that got up here. I'm here today with a group of concerned residents who are very much concerned about the traffic safety on Kalamazoo Avenue. And if you're here, would you please stand? Thank you. We heard recently that there are many plans for traffic safety in our city, and we know the need is great. Our concern is for the area between Evergreen and Hall, where there are several cross streets with limited sight lines. We've heard that there's a good possibility for a four-way stop costing $20,000 at Kalamazoo and Adams. There's also a need for flashing crosswalk in a few blocks north of either Ewing or Hancock by Kalamazoo and Oakdale neighbors. This would cost a total of this is $125,000. Both of these solutions would make the area safer. So as you begin to work on your upcoming budget, we urge you to keep this $145,000 for our safety and our neighborhood in mind. Our residents need to see action on their behalf by the end of 2026. Thank you for supporting us in this work. And a special thanks to our Third Ward Commissioners, Kelsey Perdue and Marshall Kilgore, for your consistent work and help with us.
I'm Rip, and it's been nice here from the Grand Rapids, but I think we need to think about more and talk more people actually in here. The old friends. I need to see more support from. I think it's important for us to adopt sanctuary policies to keep the federal government away from our local government. Thank you.
Okay, well, Lucas, First Ward. So last Wednesday, everything I've ever criticized about GR's backward laws and foolish traditions was displayed in one meeting. Seeing this whole appointment sham continue to be laid bare was priceless. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate you sticking to your choice and not folding to the mini-mob. I do think you missed a chance to display leadership. A motion to eliminate the candidate with the fewest votes and continue deliberation would have been great. Marshall, thank you for being clear from the outset that you see the flaws in all this. Alicia Marie, thank you for having courage and not backing down when pressured by the mean girls in the cafeteria. Kelsey, it's really frustrating to try to square your choices with the ideals you express inside conversations, but I'm trying to give you some grace. Lisa, it's hard not to like you, but it's unfortunate when we see you side with the establishment so often, and then explain it away as inside baseball that none of us plebes could understand. And Melinda, while you've been consistent about your desired appointee this whole time, and I appreciate that, Your condescension, arrogance, double talk, manipulations of other people's words, and the insults you sling at your peers continue to demonstrate an entitled pettiness. You seem to elevate the role of commissioner well above its station and well above its status in a demonstrated effort to buddy up to the GR elite. You treat this job like you're some kind of senator. Get over yourself. All this time, you could have all gone to have a beer and decided to just appoint Mr. Reppart at another meeting. You could have done it 2 months ago, but no. And Drew Robbins' choice of resignation timeframe was likely designed by his handlers to make you all look like fools. We need to eliminate the goofy law that forced him out, which is out of step with most of the nation. Our laws should be updated to define process and parameters for vacancies instead of the failed a la carte approach that we've seen play out. And ultimately, we need to restore the government to a strong mayor structure. We need leaders who will take on multiple amendments to the city charter. We need to resolve the hypocrisy of living in a state that asks itself every 16 years if it needs a new constitution while operating a city that's content to swear fealty to 110-year-old bait and switch corruption written into law. I'm betting we already have 3 of you sitting up there somewhere. You just need a 4th. And that's where the voters come in this November. We can fix it, and we will, one way or another.
Hello, my name is Karen, and I'm from Grand Rapids. And thank you for the chance to speak my mind. I'm here to participate because I feel it's my duty as a citizen and as a human to speak up when things are wrong. And it's part of our duty to keep the democracy going because we can't just elect leaders and then be quiet. So we always have to be loud. So I just want to say, with the 287G agreement that Trump is asking all these cities to agree to, we do not want that. We, the people of Grand Rapids, do not want that. What we do want are the 6 sanctuary policies. If you guys are unable to do that, if you could publicly state that you support those 6 policies, that would go a long way. We want to be deflocked. All of the cameras, we want them gone. We don't want mass surveillance. I'm very worried about how close we are to authoritarianism and then leading all the way to totalitarianism. And there's a very big irony that we're in war with Iran right now because the Islamic Republic has created this blueprint. And in September 16th, 2022, Gina Amini was killed because her hair was showing from her hijab, so her government killed her. So Khamenei, who's dead now, and the Ayatollahs of the Islamic Republic have created a blueprint of how to suppress tens of millions, 90 million to be exact, in Iran. They use surveillance, they use intimidation, public executions, political prisoners in torture camps. Sound familiar? Tens of thousands killed by IRGC in January alone, up to 30,000 protesters killed for doing what we're doing today. And IRGC is the force that they use, the police that the Ayatollahs use and Khamenei used to enforce this. The eerie parallels with Trump regime and completing the Project 2025, we're going to the way of Islamic Republic. And Trump is turning ICE into a similar personal army, using them to intimidate, kidnap, brutalize, terrorize, intimidate, and kill immigrants, sometimes kill immigrants. In Iran, they have passed this, targeting only minorities, which they continue to do, but is now women and children and schoolgirls and protesters. And they use this, how they do this is with IRGC, which is ICE, what we have, and mass surveillance, which is our flock, which we are now having on every bridge, every parking lot, everywhere you go, you are tracked now. And Iran beta tested this since 2022, and they can track every single movement. And so what would happen is if your hair was showing from your hijab in your car, you would get a ticket, or you would get your car impounded, or your shop closed, or your bank account frozen. And so no, we're not there yet, but this is very much the same path that they took. And with FLAC in our city and ICE in our city, I feel like it's only a matter of time if nobody stands up and fights this, that is where we're going. And Orwell warned us of this. There will be a point of no return, that when we get to a certain point, we won't be able to rise up. They will be able to squelch any uprising. We're too close to it now, and we don't want it in our city. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Shell. I'm a resident of the 3rd Ward, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the immigrant community. My dad is a German immigrant and a legal permanent resident here. He holds an older green card, one without an expiration date. And even before the first Trump administration, he was being detained at the airport every single time he re-entered the country. Now, due to recent policy changes, he can't renew his passport without first updating his green card, which means voluntarily re-entering an immigration system that has already proven itself unsafe for legal residents. My dad couldn't even go home to put his own brother in the ground. This is the trap that our current political climate is building around my family and the whole immigrant community within this city. I'm also transgender. I'm watching federal protections and my own legal status in this country dissolve in real time, and I am acutely aware of the importance of documented protections for everybody who lives here. So the GRPD says they don't interfere with immigration enforcement, and you want us to take that at face value. In the same way that you want us to believe that an investigation of the GRPD by state police is in any way external or impartial. When GRPD shows up to disperse and arrest people who are peacefully documenting ICE activity, they're not technically doing the work of immigration enforcement. By using intimidation tactics and harassing those working to keep their neighbors safe, they're doing something equally bad. They're removing witnesses. They're making ICE's job easier while keeping their own hands clean. That is dishonest and slimy behavior from a department who wants us to believe they don't cooperate with ICE. And you're asking for my trust, but that isn't reassurance. That's management. Mayor LaGrande, I have listened to you for a year and a half, and I have heard you say you don't want to give our immigrant community false hope without seeming to understand that we don't need hope, we need policy. I have heard you say that our demands don't speak for the whole immigrant community, yet you have never once told us whose voices you are listening to. You have claimed it might even be illegal to bar GRPD from entering a 287G agreement with ICE, but you have yet to produce any evidence for that claim and made no effort to challenge it. Every time we come to this table in good faith, we are handed a new explanation and simply asked to trust you and trust the process. Thing is, I don't trust you anymore. I don't want to be managed. I want to be protected, and protected right now in 2026 means written policy. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jacob, 3rd Ward resident, and I just want to echo the comments that came before me, that this body can act to save its citizens, to protect its citizens, and by not demanding that we enact sanctuary city policies, we are endangering our community members. We are endangering our citizens. And all of you have the power. Please act. Please enact sanctuary city policies to protect our immigrant communities, to protect our undocumented Grand Rapidians. You have the power to do this. It will make your community safer. It will make our community safer. Thank you.
Hi, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I live in one of the suburbs that lives around Grand Rapids. I don't know if it's actually considered inside, but my post office card, it says Grand Rapids, so I feel like that's enough of a license for me to be here. I understand that you guys hold a very important role, and there's a lot of things that you guys have to think about in order to make good decisions for the good of the public. And one of the things I'd like not only you guys up here to hear, but also everybody else in this room, is we need to speak plainly about what is being done and the way that things are being handled. I view this as a class issue. Capitalism, as a framework, it inherently disproportionately affects people who are of lower income. And it makes it so that they are not able to exert the same amount of financial power as people who own businesses. When you own a business, that means that you own the means of production. That means you own what is made. So when somebody comes to you and spends their time and gives their time, what they're selling is their time. They're working for you. And so essentially what that means is you need to be able to have clear boundaries for how much a business owner is allowed to take from their employees, because as it stands right now, the rate of wages does not match the rate of inflation. And what that means is purchasing power has gone down for the everyday person. And that is not true for people who own businesses. So I implore you, think about who owns businesses and who you are buddying up to. Don't bite the hands that feed you. You don't make rich people pay as much taxes as the common person. Don't bite the hands that feed you. We are who pay the bills more than rich people. Let me get that clear. More than rich people. You guys probably pay more than rich people. Think about that. That's a real fact. And, my emotions tend to get the best of me a lot of the time, but I'm trying to rein it in because I care very deeply about making sure you guys, and I would like all of you who are currently not looking at me, I would like you to look at me because I would like you to hear what I am trying to say. Joel Hondorp. I don't know even what position you hold, but the fact you're not paying attention makes me upset, and I'm going to say something about it. I want you to pay more attention to what we're trying to say. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a resident of Grand Rapids. Like many people here, I'm here to advocate on behalf of the sanctuary policies, that we're asking to pass. But before I get into that, I want to point out the fact that you have these cops in body armor flanking those of us doing public comment seems clearly designed to intimidate. And that's as someone from a demographic that is probably the least likely to be targeted by the GRPD unless I'm, involved in organizing work like this. So we're not asking for a declaration. We're not asking for anything symbolic and meaningless like that. We're asking for concrete policies that cities and counties around the country have had passed for years. We're not looking, these policies, are legal, easy to pass. You could have passed them years ago because in some fashion these have been demands that have been made by, the undocumented community and those working with them for years. And one of the policies we've been asking y'all to implement is stopping allowing ICE to access slot cameras. We have clear evidence from FOIA requests that you do, and that that ICE is doing so illegally. And moreover, slot cameras, are very harmful surveillance, especially towards BIPOC communities, and they're everywhere. Like I can't walk more than probably 2 minutes from my house or anywhere else in the city without running into these cameras. They're tools of mass surveillance, and they're wrong. Also, despite claims to the contrary, we've seen clear evidence of GRPD collaborating with ICE. We've seen them in the case of Byron Martinez, we've seen them directly assisting in the arrest, but doing traffic enforcement and other quote-unquote community safety type activities just makes the ICE job easier and just facilitates what they're doing, because ICE couldn't do it without that help. All you have to do is have GRPD not assist in that. It's not that hard. They can sit on their phones like I've seen them doing in this meeting. Also, Mayor LeGrand, you've said that that you have a legal understanding that the city can't enter into 287G agreements. You need to show us evidence, because from how you've acted as mayor and as commissioner in every role you've had, your word doesn't mean anything. We need action. Thank you.
All right, good evening, City Commissioners, Mayor LeGrand. Sonia from the West Side speaking. here to motivate prohibition for flock cameras. The concern with the flock cameras, as I understand, they allow officers to search for specific vehicles and track vehicles over time without need of a warrant. ICE does not have direct access to that camera network, but police can informally share flock camera information when requested with little to no oversight. And according to the FOIA request that was previously mentioned, there are more than 4,000 cases nationally of lookups across the country by local and state police in which ICE or immigration was listed as the reason for that lookup. Effectively, all vehicles are being tracked and their information is being stored in a nationwide network which police can look up at any time with minimal oversight, and that information can apparently be shared informally without oversight as the police see fit. I don't think more surveillance and more policing will reduce crime or keep people safe. I think the only way to do that is to provide a standard of living that meets everybody's basic needs. So I'm speaking in support of a ban on flock cameras and a ban on 287G agreements that no one, but especially immigrants in Grand Rapids, to ensure that no one, but especially immigrants in Grand Rapids, aren't abused by those systems. Furthermore, speaking in favor of the sanctuary city policies, which protect immigrants from discrimination, harassment, and also provide equal rights to live and to work. I think we need to be, and I really, really want to emphasize the need for leaders to recognize and vocally confront the fact that the anti-immigrant hysteria we're experiencing nationwide is pure scapegoating of people who have been living and working here in this country for at least 100 years, as long as any other group of immigrants yet still lack equal rights. We're talking about people who have been fully integrated into our national economy for the last century, but who have been a perpetual underclass exploited for their labor with no legal recourse to address their abuses. And many of the people on this body have expressed an unwillingness to intervene officially, citing fear of federal retaliation as well as political reaction from other anti-immigrant forces holding power. And to that I say, fighting against ethnic cleansing and human immiseration is worth stepping on toes and taking risks for, and if there was ever an appropriate time to do so, now is that time. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners, City Officers, Mr. Mayor. I'm Steve Bennett, resident of the 3rd Ward. I've spoken with several of you individually, and you assure me that these are the things you want to do. You want a formal agreement to have no 287G cooperation. You want to prohibit flock camera information from going outside its use in the city. These are the things we want, and with bold moves we can do it. Now, the points being made about affordable housing and the inequality of income, these are not new, but they have been made much worse in the past few years. Yes, the billionaires, yeah, $565 million downtown. Yeah, it's going to bring a whole bunch of people here, sure. We, as a city, need to make a bold move to tell Washington, and without getting specific, that we have sanctuary policies. We are not a place where a person from another country has to fear. Please take those steps. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Emma, and I just want to get right to the chase. ICE are the Nazis of the 21st century. The concentration camps, the mass abuse and terror that you inflict, not you, but the administration inflicts upon our neighbors, upon our loved ones, would make the Gestapo blush. You are either with ICE or you are against it. And now you have to make a choice. The GRPD, I urge you to choose what side of history you want to be on. This era is terrifying for everybody, and especially those who are being targeted, who, mind you, are typically of indigenous blood. This is a continuation of indigenous genocide in this country. They have more of a right to be here than any of us. But more than that, we have to, sorry, we're just, the humanity. How can you look at what's going on and think that this is okay? You have the option to choose sanctuary policies. It's right there. You just have to say yes. People have laid down concrete steps of what to do, and this is a first start. So I urge you to please do so. America and Grand Rapids is better with all kinds of people in it. I love going downtown and seeing Indian restaurants, Mexican restaurants, Korean restaurants, Chinese restaurants. We are better. Irish restaurants. We are better together. And the best way to do that is to first stop cooperating with ICE. Flock cameras, as other people have talked about, do not make us feel safe, and I believe all those points were great. I just want to set one reminder before I go. Flock cameras can easily be seen, their data can easily be seen by anybody. Anybody's address, their movements can be seen by just a few strokes of the keyboard. So everyone on this board too, want to remind you, people, if flock camera is there, anybody can see where you are. That means they can see your family, your husbands, your wives, your partners, your kids. They can track anybody. It's easy. I haven't done it, but I've heard things. So I want to remind you that Flock plus cooperating with ICE, this is what is leading to the devastation that's going on. So urge you to remember all that. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, evening. My name is Sam. I'm a resident of the West Side. And I also want to make a statement about the flock cameras. So I work in mental health. I talk with a lot of people in this city who receive mental health services and who might be in danger of suicide or psychosis. What I hear from a lot of these people is that they are afraid of the police. They are afraid of law enforcement for good reason. People with mental illness often die by cops. I bring this up because flock cameras and empowering the police do not make people in the city feel safe. A stronger police force does not make the black and brown people who live here feel safer. Many people here just don't feel safe around the police. Giving them more power does not improve the situation. Power is a corrupting influence. When you give the power to monitor all the residents of the city through this camera, you are feeding into that corruption. I would not trust anyone with that power. That's it.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Coco of Grand Rapids. From the years of 2020 to 2023, I worked for a company called Rekor Recognition Systems, a surveillance company that installed license plate reading cameras exactly like that of Flock. We even competed with Flock in cities and townships across the United States. When I first began at Rekor, we deployed these traffic cameras with no security layer. To log into the camera, all you needed was a default IP address and the default username and password, which were both the same. Rekor's priority was not data security nor data integrity, but rather making off with the city's tax money to justify the company's existence and to make a profit. These incidents are not isolated to Rekor. You can easily find evidence of the same carelessness with Flock online. Are the leaders of this city cool with their friends, parents, siblings, and children being tracked by a corporation and having their data sold to unknown third parties? Are you okay with selling, and if you are okay with selling out your friends and family, are you fine with them being spied on by foreign agents due to lack of cybersecurity? You see, we chastise China for their surveillance state, yet we're building one right here in America, right here at our homes in Grand Rapids. You don't need to be the husband of a defense attorney like myself to know that these surveillance cameras are also a violation of the Constitution under the Fourth Amendment, which prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures. I ask, why do we have these unconstitutional cameras installed around the Grand Rapids metropolitan area? These companies aren't here to offer you a service and perform that service well. They're here to take our money and set up a surveillance state where citizens live in fear. These companies prioritize political schmoozing and making their stock price go up over having a secure system. We have nothing to gain from allowing these unconstitutional surveillance machines to remain installed. As for the 287G agreements, well, we already know that ICE does not only target immigrants, regardless of their status. We all saw them murder 2 white Midwestern citizens point blank. When you condone the government doing something to any one group of Americans, you condone that being done to all of us, including city elected officials. So I'm not only against the 287G agreements, I'm also against installing any more of these unconstitutional cameras. And I'm also against leaving taking down the installed cameras remaining up and operational. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Sandra and I live in Grand Rapids. I would like ask for translator and also please a little more time. Thank you.
Muy bien, comencemos.
Yo estoy aquí, la verdad me siento nerviosa, pero es más importante lo que les quiero decir.
I am actually here because I have something important to say, and I'm also feeling very nervous, but I feel like I have to say what I have to say.
Quiero pedirles que adopten las pólizas santuario aquí en la ciudad de Grand Rapids para proteger a la comunidad inmigrante.
I would like you to make a note in regards to sanctuaries and to then protect immigrants.
He escuchado comentarios negativos y que a muchas personas les molestó que un grupo fuera a bailar en la destilería.
I did hear negative comments from other people that were not happy hearing the music when the carnival music that was played.
No, fueron a bailar a un negocio que es una destilería.
¿En un negocio? Destilería es como...
Es un negocio, sí.
It was actually in a business, distillery business, and that's where I heard the negative comments.
You know what I'm talking about. La razón por la que estoy mencionando esto es porque si piensan que eso fue una interrupción, no es nada comparado a lo que le está pasando a las familias inmigrantes.
And of course, that is not, I would say that that's nothing compared to what is happening to the immigrant families.
Les quiero platicar acerca de la semana pasada que supimos que ICE estuvo tomando acerca de 8 personas en diferentes lugares.
And of course, I would like to say that ICE was focusing on 8 personas? On 8, I'm not sure if it's specifically, but 8 people.
Yo me encargo de ayudar a estas personas y les quiero contar lo triste que es para mí escuchar todo lo que les está pasando.
I am in charge of helping and assisting these people, and I would like to share, and it's sad to share what I've been hearing from them.
La primera familia que se quedó desamparada porque ICE tomó al padre, se quedó una esposa embarazada con ese mismo día con 1 centímetro de dilatación.
The first family is based on a mother that was pregnant and the father was taken. ¿Cuánto tiempo?
1 centímetro de dilatación.
She was dilated, 1 centimeter dilated at that moment.
Al siguiente día ya no había un padre que la llevara al hospital.
The next day, there wasn't a parent or a dad to take her to the hospital.
Tuvimos que hacernos cargo de ella y llevarle pañales y leche porque ella no tenía absolutamente ningún otro familiar que la acompañara.
We did have to take diapers, milk, because of course she did not have any other family member to help her with that.
Tengo otra familia cuya madre también se quedó sola y tiene 5 hijos.
Another family is that was also left by herself and has 5 children.
Una de sus hijas desafortunadamente ha tratado de quitarse la vida anteriormente.
One of her daughters has actually tried or attempted to take her life.
¿Pueden imaginarse lo triste que fue para mí escuchar a la madre decirme que ahora está preocupada porque su hija está muy triste y que no la quiere dejar sola porque en cualquier momento puede hacer algo mal?
Of course, as you all can understand, it is sad to hear that. Now this mother is worried and has to now worried about her taking her life and wanting to take her life because of the situation.
¿Me podría quedar aquí toda la noche contándole acerca de todas las familias que tenemos?
And of course, we can be here, or I can be here all day telling you different stories about these families that go through this.
Solo para que tengan una idea, hay una escuela que 15 padres han sido tomados.
Just so that you have an idea, that there's a school that have that these children have taken their parents away from them.
Algunas veces los maestros se enteran porque los niños están llorando en el salón de clases comentándole a otros sus compañeros de la escuela.
Some of these instructors are actually aware of it because they hear the conversations, the side conversations that these students are having with other students and friends.
Los dejo con estas historias, espero que por favor lleguen a su corazón. A mí de verdad me han afectado mucho y espero que ustedes también tomen conciencia de eso.
And of course, with all of this being said, I leave you up to you to think about this and also know that it hurts me, and I will leave it to you guys, and hopefully that you can do something about it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jeff. I'm a resident of the Second Ward. I'm here also to encourage you all to support the 6 sanctuary policies that we've been presenting to you for the last 15 months. On behalf of Movimiento Cosecha, the immigrant-led entity that is represented here tonight. I think there may be one thing that is important, and to particularly follow up Sandra's comments, is that maybe instead of just thinking about these as sanctuary policies, we think about them as harm reduction policies. It seems like most people would be in favor of supporting anything that reduces harm being done to people in this community. Because we're not naive or unrealistic in thinking that if you adopt the sanctuary policies that somehow ICE is not going to continue to do what they are doing. Of course they are. But if we can reduce the harm, isn't that a good thing? Right? I mean, as a volunteer with GR Rapid Response to ICE, this is what we do, right? When every day, weekly, we're providing food to 30 families because they no longer have any income coming in, so they can't afford even to go to the grocery store. Every day, we are getting calls from people who are intimidated and terrorized, so we provide transportation to people so they get to and from their jobs, or to be able to pick up their children from school because they're terrified to go pick up their kids from school. Every day we do patrols in neighborhoods as volunteers to keep an eye on, to potentially preempt ICE trying to arrest and detain somebody. We're now up to having 3 faith communities who have adopted become sanctuaries in the city of Grand Rapids, and working directly with us. We can do a lot better because there's 800 churches and we only got 3, but we're working on it. So we're doing all these kinds of things. We're even visiting people who've been taken from Grand Rapids and who are now in the ICE detention facility in Baldwin, the GEO Group run facility. And I have personally met with lots of these families who are devastated, who are deeply traumatized by the separation, by having a parent taken from them. Children coming up to me and asking me, "Where's my dad?" What kind of answer can I give such a child? So I implore you all to think seriously about adopting policies that would engage in harm reduction. That's what these things are for. These are things that you can do. They are not outside of your purveyance as elected officials in Grand Rapids. Many communities around the country have done this. And we think that it's time that you do the same thing here and to be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Hello. I'm a little nervous, but that's okay. I wasn't planning on speaking, but everyone speaking before gave me some strength to do that. Thank you. So I'm here to implore you to adopt the 6 sanctuary policies now. It's extremely important. You've been hearing about it for a really long time. It's stated everywhere, and they're really simple. We're not asking you to become a sanctuary city, although that would be preferable, as we all understand. The lines are imaginary. We didn't decide that they were there. They're just there. Neighbors are neighbors. People are people. Humans are humans. I do also want to say something about, there was a guitar in here for a second. Security asked my friend to put his guitar away because they said that guitars were not allowed in here. He went all the way back to his car and missed sitting down by me up here in the front. And then I walked in here and saw a guitar. And they said, maybe don't bring it up. But like, I do feel like it's important because it's kind of a double standard. Yeah, it's okay, man. You know, it's hard to advocate for yourself when you're raised in a society that makes you feel like you're trash. Because they need a service class in order to... okay. Everything is connected. No thread can be pulled on without disturbing another on the web of social problems. I don't understand how people can continue with the day-to-day and raise a family with the things the way they are. Grand Rapids has been rated in top 10 places in the U.S. to raise a family, but what kind of family? Police violence and GRPD cooperation with ICE and the IDF, undisclosed surveillance, and illegal warrantless searches of flock data for immigration and protester data. It is logged. GRPD and flock trains violence perpetrated. All right, so, sorry guys. Thanks, okay. GRPD and flock were trained on violence that was perpetrated upon Palestine by the Israeli occupation forces. AI was trained in Gaza that powers drones that currently conduct undisclosed surveillance here on your citizens, but are capable of locating and killing particular individuals and indiscriminately killing. My friend Hank Weimer was murdered in the street by the GRPD, dragged by dogs, and left face down to bleed out 10 minutes in front of Trinity Hospital. And this is a tactic that is taught by the Israeli occupation forces. They have trained the GRPD. I know GRPD officials have gone over there to train. Okay. Israel piloted all the tech and tactics that were blamed on Iran. That Islamophobia was earlier, that was crazy. That was all done in Israel. And Trump admitted to arming the protesters. It is on MSN.com. So he allowed the unrest to happen on purpose. What ICE is doing, alienating neighbors from each other, is crazy. When we need to support and recognize borders are imaginary, especially in the future we are facing with climate change allowed to run rampant due to our love of money and going fast. There is a system in play designed to drive the majority to extinction. Being concerned with what side of an imaginary line in the sand someone came out of their mother on is only intended to keep us separated by people with special interests closer to your children than your safety. Flock cameras, AI, store on data centers no one wants that are already in our communities with images of homes, schools, and children, full of children. Anyone can access visually live. The Record guy was so correct. It's not just data, it is images. Flock presence is heaviest in minority areas. No 287G agreement. Families are scared. Why are you making it harder for everybody? Community is more than your white neighbor that gives you that tight-lipped smile. ICE takes community pillars and providers on purpose. Please stop tearing apart our families. Thank you.
Hi, I wasn't planning on speaking, and I don't have a prepared speech, and I don't have any statistics, and I don't expect you guys to fix everything today. But I want you to hear and see the people in front of you right now, and some of you are not even paying attention. This is important. We are here because we love our neighbors, we love our city, and we're here to support those people. They need us, and if we don't stand up, who will? I work in 2 different jobs. Both communities I work with are mental health and people in the immigrant community. And I see and hear the tears that are shed that you heard about today. It's real. You have to understand it's real. There are people very afraid that are brown and black skinned that are not treated well. And the policies that we are asking you to take a look at will please help them feel safe if we can just incorporate that. Get rid of flock. Don't do the 2AG, whatever number it is, because it incites more discrimination to people who are brown skinned. It keeps them from calling the police because they're afraid they're going to get arrested. The statistics on it are crazy sad about how people are getting afraid to even go to the police for things that they need to go to the police for. We're not safe here. They're not safe here. And if they're not safe here, no one is safe here. And I will keep talking and standing up for them because it's the right thing to do. And you guys can do something about it. We elected you. We need to trust you. We want to trust you. Please show us we can. Thank you.
Greeting once again, Mayor, Commissioners. Do I get an extra 30 seconds too? Thank you. By the way, I appreciate the police being here. Thank you, gentlemen. Pray for you every day, not by name, but by group. I feel safer with you here. I viewed the video online, Mayor. I don't know if it was your restaurant where your voters instigated an insurrection. I was attempting to warn you in the past, if you engage in alcohol, I don't know if it was your restaurant. I did see the former commissioner on the video, and I think you're in partnership together. That's what happens when alcohol is involved. Causes insurrections. But I'm here once again to speak up for our most vulnerable citizens, the unborn. They're just as much a citizen as anyone else. First of all, I want to thank publicly our new Puerto Rican governor, Jennifer Gonzalez Colon, for signing a law recognizing that unborn babies are human beings. We need more brave women like that in government. I don't know if you know this, but I hope Michigan never becomes like California and Washington, where now they can wait 28 days after a baby is born, then decide to murder it. That's true. If you have time, Google that. 28 days. 28 days.
Folks, please refrain.
I want to remind you of the 100 precious babies being murdered every week, genocide, at 425 East Cherry. Prove it. Yeah. Check it out. Yeah, 425 East Cherry. One of those procedures is called partial birth abortion, where they bring the baby partially out of the womb, the birth canal, strike a sharp object in the back of their skull, suck out their brains so that the body can easily come out, Then they sell the body parts for thousands of dollars. That's one. Can I have some respect from these people?
Folks,
I'll be glad to talk to you afterwards.
okay, Reverend Schott, your time's done, but generally, people, please refrain from heckling. It's very important that we have public comment where people can say whatever they want to say, as long as they are not attacking other people and disrespecting other people. And I would ask for a consistent application of that. I didn't hear any heckling prior to this individual, but I'd hope we don't hear any for the rest of the evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Andrea, and I'm a resident of the 2nd Ward of Grand Rapids. I'm here tonight because I believe this city is capable of more than it's doing. What is being done to the immigrant community in Grand Rapids is not security. It is what happens when people forget that we belong to each other, that we are not safe because we exclude someone, we are safe because we include everyone. What is happening in to our neighbors is not abstract. It is ICE arrests on our streets, detentions in Kent County jails, GRPD flat cameras logging logs showing the tagged words deportation warrant. Our neighbors are not paranoid. They are responding to real and present danger. And when one part of our community lives in fear, none of us are whole. We come apart when we stay silent. We come apart when the institutions meant to serve all of us become instruments of harm against some of us. The commission has the power to interrupt that. Tonight, I'm asking you to formally commit that Grand Rapids will not enter a 287G agreement with ICE. This agreement would deputize GRPD officers as federal immigration agents. It would It would make every interaction between an immigrant resident and local law enforcement a potential point of deportation and will not make this city safer. This is one piece of what residents have been asking for since January of 2025, to bar the sharing of flock license plate data with immigration enforcement and ICE detainer compliance without judicial warrants, declare clearly and without loopholes that immigrant residents belong here and are valued here. They are not symbolic gestures. They are specific, enforceable policies. They are the difference between the city that talks about its values and the city that lives them. I know that some of you are weighing the risk. Federal funding, political pressure, and I'm asking you to weigh something else alongside that, that the cost of what is already happening, the families already separated, the children already afraid, the trust between the community and the government already eroding, the cost is real and it's compounding every day we wait. Every family torn apart in the streets of Grand Rapids is a loss that belongs to all of us, whether we name it or not. Choosing belonging over fear is not naive. It's the most practical thing the commission can do right now. The people that have been filling this room and this room and meeting after meeting for over a year on this topic are not here out of chaos. They are here doing the hard, vulnerable, fierce work of asking their city to live up to the stated values. Please meet them there, commit to the no 287G agreements, adopt sanctuary policies, make it binding, and make it real. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adam Marnazzi. I'm a citizen of the 2nd Ward, and I'm here to talk about privacy and the need to remove and prohibit all flock cameras and ALRPS systems or ALPRS systems, which are automatic license plate reading systems. I think a lot of my fellow Grand Rapidians have made a lot of relevant points, but I'd just like to reiterate and show some support of those. Flock cameras don't just surveil, they create a detailed database of everyone's movements in the city and broker that data to the highest bidder. It's a company that is trying to make profit. Right now, that highest bidder could be GRPD or whatever local law enforcement is paying for it. But since Flock is a company driven by profits, local law enforcement isn't always going to be the highest bidder. What happens if an ultra-rich businessman wants to squelch and intimidate one of their workers who wants to start a union? How about an abusive partner who's wealthy enough to track their spouse? Beyond those who can pay for it, the information is also used improperly by police. There have been cases of officers tracking their crushes or people they're infatuated with. We don't have a lot of good ways of protecting this data once it gets put into this database. And we don't have a lot of good ways of ensuring that it doesn't get improperly used. I don't think it's too much to ask for us to remove these cameras and prohibit them from being in our city. I think we should deflock the city, de-ice the city, adopt sanctuary city policies, and then build back trust with the citizens. Thank you for your time.
Hi, everyone. Kim, 3rd Ward, and I am proud of my 3rd Ward commissioners, but I'm not proud of Grand Rapids today. I went to our Lowe's location on 28th Street and East Beltline as a general contractor, home improvement company, business owner. I have boycotted Lowe's. They have flock cameras at their store, that specific location. And I'm making sure that all the employees that work there know that they work for a company that has flock cameras. And they are clueless to it because, of course, it's not anything to be proud of or announce or let your employees know. So they're finding out from neighbors and others informing them. And a couple employees have quit because of it. Flock cameras need to go away. You've heard 100 times why I support that. I also want to talk about the way that we have partnered with ICE, our sheriff department, our GRPD. It's not okay. We need to stop that right away. I want to echo that. I also want to say that I am traumatized by the last murder, Daquan Johnson, in my neighborhood, and I'm disgusted with the fact that we have peaceful protesters behind bars, but we have cops walking our streets that have murdered our neighbors. Not okay. I'm not okay with it. I want it to stop. When people were bringing up defund the police, it was shot down because it's a crazy idea, right? We can't not have a police department. How would we defund the police? That's insane. But our police department today is reminiscent of 1704 Southern states. When police departments started, what was their #1 mission? Does anyone know? To round up slaves. We do not need police departments reminiscent of 1704 Southern states. It needs to stop. The violence, the brutality. I'm a white woman. I don't even feel safe in Grand Rapids with our GRPD. It's ridiculous. And I did not come up here to say this, but I felt compelled because of someone else that spoke. I want to remind everyone, Planned Parenthood, our only location in Grand Rapids, needs escorts. We need people to come and volunteer so that people feel safe going there because they're being harassed when they go to get health care. They're being yelled at and shouted at. Signs that are disgusting are being put out there showing fetuses torn apart. Signs that are lying that saying that Planned Parenthood is a children's sacrifice center. That's a lie. That should not be allowed. Please come escort and volunteer at Planned Parenthood where they offer vasectomies, which prevent abortions. Thank you.
Hello, Russell Olmsted, 1st Ward, West Side, Grand Rapids. I generally don't write. I speak because I like eye contact, but I'm going to meander, and I didn't want to meander too far time limit. First of all, I want to state completely support everything that everybody has been speaking on here about the policies that have been being put forward. We need to do that as a city. We need courageous leadership here. But the reason why I want to speak is about the appointment process that happened last week. I had a chance to speak with Commissioner Belichick earlier today, and I expressed how frustrated I am in the process and how it was handled last week. I said that I was probably as frustrated as I've ever been with the actions, or more accurately, inaction, from last week's discourse and deliberation on the finalists and the appointments. And as many of you have known me for years on that dais, you know that that is saying something if I am the most frustrated that I have been. The lack of leadership, dialogue, and discourse was unprofessional, disrespectful to the candidates and all of us in the 1st Ward. Now, perhaps I've been misinformed on this, but it is my understanding that after last week's special meeting and the lack of clear deliberation on the finalists and the adjournment, we're now left with no clear path forward, and that the push from some on the commission is to leave the seat vacant through the election cycle. We state values so much in this city. Mayor LeGrand, you've said on numerous occasions that you view elected office as a sacred trust, and that we as a city deliberate and commit to values around our strategic plan, values like accountability and equity and collaboration. We then use those values as kind of a North Star in discussing budgets and policy and practices, trying to live up to the ideal and commitment that those values, commitment of these values, working to hold that sacred trust. These same ideals and values are used when engaging with the community, by the city, on the campaign trail, by when you're running for office, and even in some of the oaths when sworn to office. So please explain to me how leaving residents of the First Ward, nearly 70,000 people, without full representation on the commission is equitable. How does it hold to the values of accountability and collaboration? How is it democratic in any way to, by choice, leave nearly 70,000 people without full representation from February through early November? Because it seems to betray every one of those values and the sacred trust that we claim to believe in. I implore you to please revisit that appointment process. Please don't choose to leave us underrepresented on the commission as we go into a voting on the budget, on the next police chief, on recommendations around police policy and the Civilian Appeals Board, on affordable housing, on countless other solutions that we need that affect the most vulnerable people in this community. Please come back and give us some sort of clear understanding of what the next steps are. We can't be underrepresented. We can't. It's just not right. It's not democratic. It's not what any of us believe in. It's not what you believe in, and it's not why you ran for office. So thank you.
Mark back. Well, the orange felon has done it again. He done turned in basically an assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner into his own personal crusade for his little whorehouse that he's trying to build. Now he wants to build with taxpayer money. Hell no, that ain't gonna happen. And at this event, look, I don't condone an assassination attempt of the president, no, even the orange felon. Can't do it. Now, if he did it, then he is going to be punished accordingly. But what's so disturbing was the people who were there. I mean, come on. It's a crime scene. Individuals in there taking selfies. One woman grabbing big expensive bottles of Moet champagne. And a guy who's basically doing that, and a guy who's stuffing his face with his grub. Come on, this is a crime scene. I mean, come on. The incompetence of the Secret Service for allowing this individual to try to get down to the ballroom, which is the hotel ballroom, which is 2 floors down. Luckily, nobody wasn't hurt. Nobody wasn't killed. Now, I see the individuals who are here talking about sanctuary policies and all that stuff. Again, where were y'all at when we voted? Because I guarantee you this, some of the people who spoke didn't even vote. That's your problem. Now you can make amends and get registered and get registered and go out and vote in the midterms, because this is critical. We're talking about life and death here, because this guy will stop at nothing to complete his Project 2025 escapades. So go out, get registered, go vote, because your life will be at stake. Thank you. Revenge 2026.
Good evening, Austin, Second Ward resident. I actually voted personally for you, Ms. Knight and Ms. Yasazi. I would also like to take a second for Commissioner Kilgore. You were a big reason why I felt the courage to at least come here today, so I just wanted to extend that. There is a motto behind you when the 9 of you leave here tonight. It is motu viget. It is a Latin phrase for strength and activity. I would like to personally thank a lot of the residents here for being firm examples of that. And I would just like to remind you all up here that you are voted upon. And I would hope that you can at least extend that courage and be a firm example of that motto behind you. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Chloe. I'm a volunteer organizer with Grand Rapid Response to ICE. I, along with thousands of other people, have been asking the City Commission to adopt the 6 sanctuary policy since January of 2025. Since that time, ICE has caused tremendous harm and separated hundreds of immigrant families living in Grand Rapids. We know this because we work directly with these families to provide mutual aid. We also know that ICE has attempted to arrest and detain many more immigrant families, but because of the work GR Rapid Response to ICE does, which is to disrupt the violence that ICE perpetrates, there have been fewer family separations and less family trauma. By adopting the 6 sanctuary policies, this commission would essentially be adopting harm reduction policies. Unfortunately, since January of 2025, we have heard that adopting these sanctuary policies, it would make Grand Rapids a target. And we have also heard that there are likely pro-ICE people who haven't communicated with this commission. We have also heard from the mayor that he didn't want to give immigrants a sense of false hope. And at other times, we have heard that the city is already meeting some of these demands. Then at a recent commission meeting, the mayor said that even if they wanted to sign a 287G agreement, city lawyers have told him that they couldn't legally sign a 287G agreement. Grand Rapids Rapid Response to ICE even sent an email to the mayor to provide concrete evidence that signing a 287G agreement was not possible. But to date, the mayor has failed to respond to this simple request. We have also heard this commission that the GRPD is not collaborating with ICE, but we have witnessed on numerous occasions that they have, such as when a GRPD officer showed up at the same time as ICE to arrest and detain Byron Martinez, which we have on video that shows the GRPD officer directly assisting ICE. Mayor LeGrand has said repeatedly to let him know if GRPD is violating policy and directly cooperating with ICE. Countless community members have, and he's done nothing. But moreover, current policy has giant loopholes in that there are exceptions for emergencies and supporting public safety. Now, we are fully aware of the fact that adopting the 6 sanctuary policies will not eliminate ICE violence in Grand Rapids, but we do believe that if the city of Grand Rapids doesn't cooperate with ICE in any way and the GRPD doesn't interfere with our efforts to prevent ICE from arresting and detaining immigrants, that there will be less harm done by ICE in Grand Rapids. Therefore, we are asking you once again to adopt these 6 sanctuary policies, to practice immigrant solidarity, and to be on the right side of history.
ICE and cops go hand in hand. ICE and cops go hand in hand. ICE and cops go hand in hand. ICE and cops go hand in hand.
I'm sorry that you're deciding to disrupt the meeting. At this point, you're disrupting the meeting, and I'd ask you to stop. I'd ask you to leave the meeting at this point, and I'd ask the commission to vacate the dais, please. If everyone else can leave the dais. Yeah. Are you okay with just adjourning the meeting? Do you want to have closing comments? You okay with just adjourning the meeting? I'm going to exercise my discretion to just adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for being here.